Redwood National Park, home to some of the oldest redwoods in the world. We did this trip nearly a year ago in mid-June, and it was fan-freaking-tastic. We're rolling up to that same time of year, so I highly encourage y'all to go check it out. It's only a half day's drive from the Bay Area and is the absolute perfect long weekend getaway. On a late Friday afternoon, we hurried over to the Thomas Kuchel Visitor Center to pick up walk-in permits. There were 3 or 4 people already at the ranger station, but we had no problem securing permits, and we're soon on our way to the Redwood Creek Trailhead just 4 miles away. We left our car there and headed into the forest. We're starting our hike in the Redwood National Forest. We're gonna hike down Redwood Creek, find a camp spot, and just chill for the night. And then tomorrow we'll hike to Tall Trees Grove, where there's some of the oldest growth redwoods in the whole world. And then we'll hike back out, and the next day we'll go to Fern Canyon. Right off the bat, the trail was gorgeous. The sun was out, the birds were chirping, and the forest was breathing with life. The first part of the hike is filled with second growth redwoods. You can tell because these beauties are not quite as tall or thick as first growth redwoods. Another key giveaway is that they're all about the same height since they started growing around the same time, i.e. when the first growth was cut down. We only hiked a couple miles from the parking lot before we started scouting for a campsite. You can camp anywhere along the gravel bars in between MacArthur Creek and the Tall Trees Grove. So we plopped down right about here before the bend in the creek where the Alam Horse Camp is. We made camp and started collecting wood to keep cozy for the night. Look at all my wood. Oh yeah.
Check this out.
Yeah. I feel like you're warding off a vampire. Burn, baby, burn. Burn, baby, burn. What's the next line of that song?
I don't know.
Ooh, it's a big bug. On the dinner menu was salmon with fresh broccoli over Asian brown rice topped with teriyaki sauce, sesame seeds, and furikake. Wow, I sound like a waitress. Furikake is a Japanese seasoning with things like dried fish, seaweed, sugar, salt, probably MSG. It's basically like crack for rice. Oh, babe, don't scrape the. Let's trade. Yeah. How's it?
Really good. Wow.
Sweet. As the sun started setting, the fish started jumping out of the creek, bugs were flying about, and the bats were swooping in to snap them up. Oh, look at all these bats. Wow, there's so many. After nightfall, the stars came out in full force. I swear the Milky Way went all the way across the sky. It was absolutely glorious. And it's all impossible to capture on video, at least with what I'm working with. So you just gotta believe me. Or better yet, you gotta go out there and experience it yourself. We woke up to a beautiful morning with the birds chirping all around us. Filtered water, we made our regular breakfast of oatmeal. How's the oatmeal?
Good.
I had my coffee, and then we got back on the main trail. There was actually a small trail to our campsite, but it was down an extremely steep slope with many pokey things doing much poking.
Yeah, I was thinking that when we came down here.
The main trail itself is very well maintained though. We headed towards the Tall Trees Grove, which I believe was about 5 miles from our campsite. Along the way, we passed by a large group camping not too far from us at the bend of the creek, but otherwise didn't see anyone else on the trail.
Watch community, you know what I'm talking about. Hi, little frog. Wow, it blends in really well.
That's a break. It's like wobbly.
I don't think it's wobbly.
You would wobble.
Man, I'm like running into so many spider webs. They're like all hanging off of me.
Oh man. That must mean that there haven't been that many people.
Oh, that's true.
It was a gorgeous day, and soon enough we were at Tall Trees Grove. This is where you see a lot of the first growth redwoods that fortunately survived that period of extensive logging which decimated most of the forest. We did the 1 mile loop through the grove and then took a break for lunch.
Excuse me, bruh.
Are you gonna fold it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
My little pizza.
Things I like.
Pretty good. Mmm.
Okay.
Oh, she's really good. I think that Gouda gives it a lot of flavor.
Oh. Good.
Actually, this is pretty delicious. Our tortilla beef jerky pizza with Gouda cheese.
Afterwards, we hiked back to camp, set up our campfire in a jiffy, and made dinner.
How long did it take us to make that fire?
Less than a minute.
It's so easy here. This wood is super dry. Sun is setting.
Ooh, I like these ones. These ones are the ones that we can stick.
We have so much wood.
Burn, baby, burn, burn, baby, burn.
Oh.
Good.
Mac and cheese with fresh broccoli and beef jerky. It's freaking delicious.
I feel like this is better with beef jerky than summer sausage.
Yeah, it is. After another restful night of sleep, we woke up with the sunrise, packed our camp, and said our goodbyes to the little home we had made in this gorgeous forest. All packed up and ready to go.
Oh, I thought you were taking a picture.
Oh my god. That's in like every single video clip I have. Someone's like, oh, I thought you were taking a photo. Bye, campsite. Alright, we have to go out that really tough path. Okay.
Do you want to check on tadpoles at all?
Eating breakfast on the road, huh?
There you go.
We packed up early so we could try to catch the Roosevelt elk in Elk Meadow. It's about 6:30 a.m. right now, and the elk like to graze around 7 or 8 a.m. So we're hiking out and hopefully we'll catch them. Once we got back to the Redwood Creek trailhead, we hopped in our car and headed to Elk Meadow. There was actually only one elk there, but on the way there we saw a herd grazing in a field off the highway. Apparently the Roosevelt elk disappeared from Northern California a while back, but they've recently been coming back down from Oregon and have been in the area again. Like they're gonna protect their calves. We then continued up Davidson Road, which apparently only opens at 9 a.m., but that was the way to Fern Canyon. Fern Canyon was just stunning. There was a stream trickling through the canyon, and as we ventured deeper in, it widened to actually cover almost all of the floor of the canyon. So a lot of people didn't want to get their feet wet and ended up turning back at this point. But if you come here, I highly recommend just taking your shoes off, getting your feet wet, and walking through the entire length of the canyon, because the scenery becomes more and more magical the deeper you go in. The canyon walls tighten in around you and the ferns just tower over you. I like the way they kind of curve upwards. Steven Spielberg actually filmed part of Jurassic Park 2 here, and when you get here you'll see why he chose this location for the Lost World. It just looks like something out of the past, with these ancient looking ferns, this beautiful like rays of sunlight coming through. It's really awesome. As usual, we took a wrong turn, but we found our way back eventually. I think the actual trail was the other way.
Really?
Yeah.
But this is really a trail.
It is a trail. Per custom, we celebrated our adventures with beer and burgers. Which one's your favorite?
I don't know, I think the raspberry lamb make's really interesting. I also like this, I think it's the West Coast IPA.
Yeah.
I like the West Coast IPA. Like,
It's
I
a
like
good
the Green
IPA.
Flash also. I don't know, they're all really good. Like, the porter is interesting. I like the rye a lot too.
This particular stop was at Six Rivers Brewery, about half an hour south of the Kuchel Visitor Center. The beers were fantastic and the burgers really hit the spot. After that, we drove through the Avenue of the Giants, a 31-mile section of the highway lined by first-growth redwoods, and then we made our way back home. With a couple stops for food, of course. So that was our weekend adventure in Redwood National Park. It was a quick one and pretty last minute, but ended up being one of our favorite trips in 2018. Oh, it smells good.
You just grab one.
Run away with it.
Runaway chicken.